flips on my back, like, bro, I'm out for like literal months. I was
Yeah.
like, how can I still be super involved with this, actually be contributing something, but then like not just getting my ass beat every single time?
Yeah.
But kind
Okay.
of the more and more I actually invested in taking photography, I was like, I don't want my stuff looking like other people. Like, let's try to create something unique.
Well, hey everyone, how's it going? Today you're here with me with Sam Jameson, also going by Slam Jameson. Sam is a photographer based in Torrance, California. Judging by what I've seen on his Instagram, he really is more of a concert photographer. But that said, I want to know, how would you define your art style? What kind of photographer are you, if you do label yourself?
Ooh. If I could put my art into like one word, I'd say the word that defines it is almost clarity. Like, if you've seen kind of any of my stuff, what I tried to do with my work is, you see people constantly that throw like, their watermark over their photo, and that's
Mm-hmm.
their way of kind of branding their style.
Mm-hmm.
I really tried to go out and have something that, like, just from a visual perspective, looked really, really unique and really different compared to what a lot of people were doing. So it was
Mm-hmm.
almost like I didn't have to throw a watermark on the photo. Just like that style kind of just speaks for itself. So I'd probably say, if like one word, it's really clarity heavy, especially in a lot of the editing I do. It's just bringing out a lot of the clarity. I've heard comparisons sometimes to like kind of Renaissance type photos, which I like completely agree with that. Like, if you look at like the medieval battle type drawings, it just, you can see everything in the full clarity.
Mm-hmm.
That's sometimes what I think of when I'll look at like a really dramatic photo that I just like brought out all the clarity with.
Yeah. So is that more when you're doing kind of concert shots, or even like in regular portraits? Is it?
It's mainly for concert shots. It gets a little freaky when you like try to do that with portraits. Like, you max clarity all the way, and then you throw another raw filter on and
Yeah.
max clarity again. Like, then you just start distorting people like crazy. But I
Yeah.
find, especially because I shoot really flash heavy, like I use slaves for external lighting in the back,
Oh wow.
that sort of lighting really lends itself nicely for really high clarity. But for a lot of the other stuff, if I'm shooting landscape or anything like that, I do kind of a different style of editing that's definitely backing off from how high I crank that clarity
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. No worries. Wait, so are you using like slave and stuff during like shows?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, say like, well, one of my questions is like, well, so what's it like being on stage? Because those are intense shows you're going to, but then to have just trust the flash over here and hopefully it doesn't get hit. Like, how do you?
Ooh, so I have clamps. So I try to get to a spot early and normally scope out the location. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be a relatively safe place that I can like clamp this slave, have it set up. It's not gonna get hit.
Mhm.
I used to do it a little more. It was a little more spooky back in the day when I didn't have those clamps. Like, when I shoot shows at Gilman, they have
Mhm.
like the big ass ladders that they have like on the far side, and
Mhm.
I just like get a piece of tape and climb up the
Oh
ladder, like
wow.
stick it on the ladder,
Yeah.
or like just make some like bootleg contraption to like hold it up top. So
Mhm.
definitely, like, I tried to scope it out beforehand, find places where like it'd be out of harm's way almost, and then
Mhm.
just kind of set it up. But now that I actually have like a little bit better equipment to just like prop it in places, I'm not as worried about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so that said, when you're on, so what's it like for you? Like, you just, there's a show going on, you just jump on stage and you just try to duck and move everything. Or have you ever gotten hit? Like, where your camera's ever gotten hit?
So, actually thinking about it, thinking back, I like have never had a hard hit
Yeah.
from concert photography. I think it just comes from like situational awareness. Like, even though I am trying to take photos, I'm trying to be really aware of like what's going on. Or I know like this is a spot where people are going to be stage diving. They're going to be jumping off. Like, if I literally back up a couple inches, like, I'll be good. So I try to feel out the environment too, because, as you know, it can be like crazy dangerous when you're shooting shit like this.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Um, yeah, no, there's one guy where I was at a show. Have you ever been to the Peace and Justice Center when you were up here in San
Dude,
Jose?
I've never got to a show there, but I've been
Uh,
seeing photos and videos. Like, that seems like it's the spot now in San
yeah.
Jose.
Yeah, there's one guy named Myron that, like, when I first saw him there, same thing, like, he's like, people are straight doing karate flips, and like, he's like over their shoulder, like, getting the shots, like, dog, like, you're gonna hit your camera. Like, he's in there, like, in the trenches, so it's cool. I figure like same thing, like serious shots. I'm like, man, these guys are fucking daredevils. Like, I want to do that, but I also don't want to spend more money if my shit breaks. You know?
I feel you, dude. I mean, that's like honestly like part of the reason too why I started taking more photos is just like I'm not a big dude. I'm like, 5'7". Back in the day, I weighed like
Same.
125, 130 pounds, and I would
Yeah.
just get like brutalized. Like, some dude 220 pounds just like front flips on my back. Like, bro, I'm out for like literal months. I was
Yeah.
like, how can I still be super involved with this, actually be contributing something, but then like not just getting my ass beat every single time?
Yeah. No, totally. Very cool. Well, hey man. So I know we're talking like what's happening in the now, but I'm curious to know how did you even get started in photography in the first place?
Ooh, so I started in photography. I actually found a camera. So it was on a trip. I went with my high school marching band. We went to France and did like kind of a spring break trip where we ended up just like playing at a couple places out in Paris.
Okay.
And then we came back on the bus that picked us up from LAX. I remember I was like the first one on the bus and I walked all the way back and I just looked under the seat and I found this camera bag. And I was like, okay, did somebody
Damn.
just leave this
Yeah.
like DSLR here? So I picked it up and I gave it back to the bus company for 6 months. And they're like, if nobody claims it, it's yours and you can have it. So I was like, I'm going to try to return it to its rightful owner. I couldn't find like any name, anything on like the memory card that would be indicative of like who actually owns this.
Mhm.
I think it was probably like some tourists that like literally just like forgot it on the bus and then took off on their flight and left. But I found that camera and I actually like had that camera for like 4 or 5 years before I really started shooting shows. I just like every once in a while kind of mess around and take like portraits or landscape stuff, but I never really got into it as much until I kind of more started actually going to hardcore shows. So I was constantly going to shows. This started around like my freshman year of college, more so, kind of when I went into UCSC and was going to a bunch of shows out there. And I remember like as a show goer, like we do this all the time. We play like Where's Waldo? We'll like look at photographs that people saw and you'll see a photo yourself and you're like, that's cool. It like helps you relive the experience mentally almost.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
And I was like, I want that to be something that like I could offer to people. Like that'd be really cool if one day I could be taking photos and people could be looking back through those photos and reliving the experiences, reliving these concerts that, you know, really mean a lot. A lot of times, like a lot of us have a hard week and sometimes the shows like our one good release and the thing we look forward to and the thing we continue to reminisce on as well.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So then, so I was actually checking out your Instagram and one of the posts for the new Dream album, you're pretty much saying like, oh yeah, it was when I got into college when I started going to hardcore shows. So what was that experience like for you like in general?
Like just going to like or starting to go to shows when I went up to college.
Yeah.
So I really actually liked being in Santa Cruz. So I was in Santa Cruz for like the first 2 years of college, and then I transferred to Berkeley and finished up my last two. So it was kind of cool. I got like the college experience in two different places.
Very
or
beachy
two
and
different
very Ivy-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've ever heard anything about like Torrance or the South Bay, it was like a pretty big place of punk like back in the day. I believe like Pennywise from the beach cities like right over here. But as of late, like past couple decades, like there's nothing. There's no venues out here. Nobody plays any shows. You at least have to drive like an hour into LA to actually go to stuff. So like the location I was at down here and I'm still like back down here, it just didn't lend myself for actually getting out there to go to shows kind of before I moved away. And then when I went to college, just proximity wise and ease of transportation, it was a lot easier to start going to shows.
Yeah, no, definitely. I grew up in Pedro.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Small world, bro.
Yeah, no, it is. Like when I was going to the original from Santa Cruz and I saw Torrance, like, oh, there's some fucking Torrance. Like, right, like I went to El Camino right there, and I lived in Hawthorne for a bit too.
Dude, so cool.
I get the area, and I totally feel it. Like, yeah, there's not much in the like. I feel like if you're in LA and like more Mona-ish area, like that Diamond Bar-ish, you're gonna find I guess more metal, right? You'll find bands, but like when you're more like in the beachy cities, right? There's not really much just going on. I think it's just crowd, right? There's not that big of a crowd.
It's like Dad Rock and like Saint Rock on PCH. Like that's all it is for 20 miles.
But it's something. Like, I think it's cool because like when you see the people that come out of it, so like rotting out, I feel like I can put Pedro back on the map, right? Drain's still cool. Like what Sammy's doing, I think that's like really fucking impressive. But he's a Santa Cruz band, right? Like they came from Santa Cruz, but to know like I know his origin story, which is cool. I think Pedro has like a lot of like good Pedro. Well, sorry, now I'm talking about Pedro, right? But I think that whole area, there's a lot of artists, right? It's just okay, well, how do these people blow up even more, right? They're already good. Like for you, like what's your shots? Like same thing. Like this is like there's collage shots, but like there's something about your shots just have like a look to them. Like okay, cool, this dude. There's something he knows what he's doing. Let's help put this guy on the map a little bit more. So.
I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, like that's why I try to go to. Like I remember even when I started taking photos, like, everybody does their black and white high clarity, like looking like your Angela Owens or like your reality filter, like all those guys. It's a really popular style, and definitely when I was starting, I thought that was like the shit and really tried to emulate it. But kind of the more and more I actually invested in taking photography, I was like, I don't want my stuff looking like other people. Like, let's try to create something unique. It was never almost something I like mentally like set out to do. Like, I know I'm gonna make something unique. It was kind of just something that happened over time.
Yeah. So then, why? How did the part of just layering photos on top of each other? How did that specific aspect come into your portfolio?
So it was my first year at Berkeley. I was taking like a graphic design class. At Cal, they had a lot of like cool little extra like 1 or 2 unit courses you could take called decals. They were actually student taught classes. So I like literally took classes from stuff like I took like a Drake class to like a baking
That's
class
it.
to like and one of them, yeah, it was fucking crazy. I like stacked my schedule with those courses because they were like pass no pass and just like great filler. But one of them I took was a like a Photoshop and Illustrator one. And it was in that course where I was just learning more principles of like actually manipulating things in Photoshop, and just kind of gave it a shot and started trying to do collages with it. It initially kind of started off with more just like black and white work. So like kind of pasting my photos, trying to make the collage and then throwing like a black and white filter over it to kind of just like mask my me not being the best at masking nice and
Yeah,
clear.
no, I can totally see that. Yeah, very cool. So then, what? So when I like go to your page, right? Like obviously, I feel like that's what's been more recent of your shots. Is that what you're kind of focused on doing right now, or it's just more what you just happen to be highlighting, and you actually do a lot more there?
Yeah, so I'm a little washed up. Like I kind of burned myself out with shows, honestly. Like when
Ah,
I was
okay.
up in the Bay, I was literally going sometimes to like shows like through like 3 nights a week.
Okay.
With working on top of that, with like a schedule, and I was actually working at the UC Theater. I was their in-house photographer up there for a while,
Okay.
so I was like constantly shooting like every show they had going on there. And kind of just when I moved back to LA after finishing college, I found myself like even coming back to Torrance, being back in that scenario where I'm distanced from stuff a little bit again.
Yeah.
And I actually work downtown, so I've been commuting from like Torrance to downtown
That's
every
uncomfortable.
single day.
Yeah.
By the time the weekend rolled around, I was just like, dude, I'm so tired. Like, there's already 10 other people at this show shooting. Like, it's okay. I don't have to go. So I've been a little washed up in terms of like just how frequently I've been shooting shows, but I kind of like it now because the shows that I do shoot, they mean a lot more to me. It's like I'm not going to it every single week. It's like I can really look forward to a particular show of a particular artist, and then I find like it means a lot more to me. And then the work, the photos that I actually take, I invest a lot more time and I care about it because I'm not almost rushing myself.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool.
So like with all of us being stuck indoors right now and repurposing stuff, like you see everybody like just posting like old photos or re-editing old stuff, and I'm like, dude, it's like an even playing field. Nobody can shoot shows anymore. Like, who's gonna make content like this? Like, the only main other dude I see like do collage stuff is a dude named Faith Eater. If you've seen his Instagram tag, but I don't really find that many other people like kind of doing collage stuff like this. So I was like, it'd be cool if I could kind of start doing this again to keep myself motivated, just keep myself thinking creatively during this quarantine, and like hopefully inspire other people to give it a shot too.
So mission accomplished. So my last video I put out with Hemorrhage, I tried to copy like a very bootleg version of that. 'Cause I was like, this is cool. The only shots I have of these guys, like they weren't the best because I just didn't do a good job taking them. Like, well, how do I make this work? Okay, well, I'll put them all together. I'll make it black and white, and then I'll kind of just change with the filters, and then that'll look good. And I did it, but same thing as I started like saw your videos how you would kind of like erase it and everything. Like, oh, that's easy. And then I noticed how like not clean my cuts look. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, it's black and white. No one will tell. You know?
That was like, yeah, especially when I was first starting out. This was like, bro, this takes so long. This is so tedious.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like, do a little bit of blur tool, make it look all right, throw the filter over, and like nobody will ever tell the difference. But I was like, dude, a lot of these photos I take with such heavy clarity, like it'd be so cool if we could do this in color, but I know I really have to up like the quality of my cuts and my masking if I want it to look cohesive.
Yeah, no, totally. So then, well, so on that note, I know we're talking about like editing style, but what's your gear setup? Are you a technical star? Do you care about all that, or you're more just I have a camera and I have this lens?
So I recently had just bought a 5D Mark IV. But
Okay.
the quarantine hit, and I haven't been able to go shoot a lot of stuff.
That's
Pretty much the
unfortunate.
vast majority of a lot of photos you see that was shot with the Canon 60, and I
Okay.
was using the 24 to 105 f4 lens,
Okay.
and I pretty much upgraded that rig and just got the 5D Mark IV and then the 24 to 70 2.8. So that's what I've been shooting with. And then I have three 430 EX3 flashes that kind of sync wirelessly. So like one on top of my camera and then two slaves. I don't always use two. I sometimes might only use one, but that's
Okay.
pretty much like the only kind of gear set I use. I don't really have any other lenses that I pretty much use.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much just that.
So the 24 to 70. So like I have like prime lenses, right? And I thought about getting one, like a 35 millimeter or 25, 24. But I also wanted 24 to 70 just for like portrait stuff. But that also works for concerts. So you found that gets the job done.
Yeah, I like having the flexibility. I mean, especially when you're shooting a hardcore show, you just have like so much going on that a lot of times, I don't know. I find myself like sometimes just in one spot for a long time. Like I sometimes don't make the effort of really moving around to side stage or getting to other areas just because I don't freaking want to be in anybody's way. You know, like I think the biggest thing as a photographer that I try to do is like be almost out of sight, out of mind as much as I can. Like I know I'm shooting with a flash.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of annoying, but
I'm
like
about to ask, yeah.
trying to be like as out of sight, out of mind as I can. So a lot of times I'll find myself just in one spot when I'm shooting for the whole show. So having the flexibility of the zoom can just vary the look of the shots that I get, almost looking like you're taking it from a different space, even though you're in the same spot.
Oh, interesting. I didn't think about that. So you're still like a different shot without actually moving and compose.
Exactly. Just when you're like limited and you can't move, like when you're with like a bigger stage and like a bigger hat venue, sometimes it's a little easier to move around, get like drummer shots, stage left, stage right. But a lot of times, especially for like the small shows where it's crazy packed, it's like you're not moving.
Yeah. So, question for you on the drummer part. So, like, I feel like when you have vocalists and you have the bass players and guitarists, like, it's easy to get cool shots because there's so much real estate around them. But for a drummer who's always in the same spot and usually in the back, how do you get a unique drummer shot from like the same angles?
That's a good question. By the way, drummers don't get enough love, dude. Drummers are the ones carrying those entire bands and they're stuck in the back and they never get enough photos. So anytime I like have good access to trying to get to drummer, I try to get out of the way because I'm like, dude, I know like half the time everybody's just shooting the rest of your band. You never have anything good of yourself.
Yeah.
But what I try to do is I actually try to like consider timing a lot when I'm taking shots. So like I'll actually consider like the music that's going on to play. Like, okay, is this getting towards like the end of that bar where I know he might be hitting like a crash, or like have something where he brings his sticks up that like you're almost playing into when the music is happening and trying to think of like, okay, if he is drumming like this, on what note are his hands going to be in a certain position that like might look cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like same for like when you get jump shots and stuff like that. Like if you watch like sometimes like I'll watch a live set or remember like if I watched a certain band a live set, like okay, it's this part where the bass player isn't playing this riff that he normally like jumps and gets a good shot like that. So I try to like take into account like the music as well, and if I do have a knowledge of the music, I can know and can pick out certain spots that are going to be a little bit more action heavy. So then I can try to like tie it up with when I might be taking that shot. If that kind of makes sense at all.
No, that's actually. I mean, that's really smart. I never thought about that. And so that comes from knowing the band too. So wow, so you have like already a process in your head even at the show, like.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm a musician myself. I've been playing guitar for like over a decade. I played like drums and marching band and did all that stuff. So I kind of have like that music and rhythmic background, and I kind of see how it even ties in with photography. Like if you're trying to get a good shot, even knowing the music or knowing when exciting parts are going to happen in the music just like increases the likelihood that you're going to get a killer shot out of the set you're shooting.
Cool. So I'm gonna throw one. Okay, so let me throw you a question. Mine also coming. Who's your Overwatch main?
Ooh, my Overwatch main, dude. I was a GM Mercy main.
Really?
Yeah. I was a support and tank main. I play that game like way too much, man. Yeah. Do you play Overwatch at all?
So I got it on the Switch and I've been playing it. It's like really easy access now, but I'm trying to like I played League for a bit and I realized it's not a good idea because I get too into it. So Overwatch is the same thing. I probably deleted the game multiple times, but I keep reinstalling it. But now I'm trying not to buy any new games. Kind of okay, if I just have Overwatch and I play a lot, that's my game. I don't need to pay more money.
Dude, I have a love-hate relationship with Overwatch. Like, Overwatch was one of my favorite games, like, of all time. Like, when that initially dropped, I played the hell out of that game. Like, I had, like, 3 alternate accounts. I put so many hours into that game. I remember, like, because I played it on PS4 for a while, and then I built myself a PC so I could get better and like actually play on PC.
Yeah.
And I just got like super into competitive. Like I just grind that. I was like 1 point away, like 5 different times from GM, but I'd queue with my buddy that was like a top 500 player. Yeah. So I'd be in matches with like big streamers and stuff like that, just playing. And dude, that was like one of the scariest experiences of my life. Like those people are so good. Yeah. They're so toxic too that I just be like in my room, like just sweating, like playing for a couple hours.
I was playing last night and it was like a good match. Like both teams were really good, right? But it was a point of like, that can get stressful. You know, at times you're like, fuck. That was a huge battle and that was only 20 seconds of like the match. You gotta do that 10 more times.
Yeah. And those like the really good players too, like they expect perfection. Like if you make one little like mistake too, you're not an absolute like god at the game, like they'll just demoralize you beyond all hell. It's real pretty spooky and pretty scary.
Very gatekeeper, yeah. I mean like I think so I use Roadhog, right? Like that's my main thing. And so like if it's a big battle and I miss my chain, then I'm like fuck, like that I can't miss that. Like that's why I'm here and I can't yeah. Anyway, okay, cool. Yeah, I saw you had Overwatch on your Instagram. Like, cool. This guy. Let me see what he's all about. Like, it's Overwatch.
Yeah, I'm a gamer nerd, dude.
Have you So you haven't been playing recently?
Not as much. I've been playing Warzone a little more as of late. It's like I kind of just shift whatever's like the popular one, but I kind of got burned out on Overwatch. Yeah. It's just like it isn't the same, and I can't pinpoint exactly why.
Okay, interesting. I feel like maybe. It is repetitive after a while, right? Like you have to be okay with that. Like this is gonna be the same match every time, right? Like the flavor goes away, but yeah, they had a new character like maybe a week ago. So if you're
that character was crazy. I like messed around in the try mode. I was like,
oh really?
If they make the game more like this and they add like another like 20 characters that have mobility like this, like yeah, I might go back and play a little more.
Now I think the more air battle stuff is fun because it really changes the dynamic, and you have to really Okay, cool. That's cool. I appreciate you knowing Overwatch. Okay, bring it back in. What is Sub Rosa?
So Sabrosa is a venue in downtown Santa Cruz. That venue actually, in my time in the Santa Cruz scene, wasn't as popular. There wasn't as many shows going on there. Mm-hmm. It was more when I actually left and like kind of the last year I was finishing up at Berkeley, and even when I moved back down to LA, that Sabrosa was getting a lot more traction. If you're kind of familiar with anything that's been going on in like downtown Santa Cruz over like the last I don't know exactly when it started, but even in my course there, I saw the gentrification was really going on there. Like the venue, Cafe Pergolesi, that was like this coffee shop that like, you know, the first Drain shows like happened at and stuff like that. Like all the Santa Cruz hardcore stuff, like especially when that scene was fostering in like, is that like 2016, 2015, 2016? A lot of shows were going on in a venue called Cafe Pergs, and that place actually got shut down. So one of the more remaining venues in there was Sabrosa, pretty close to that venue actually, just geographically wise in downtown Santa Cruz. So that kind of became like the new place for a lot of hardcore shows in the area.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And so now it's just going under. Is everyone trying to just like GoFundMe it, or what's the plan?
Yeah. So right now, pretty much. So to give you some context too, in like my work, I pretty much work with venues, festivals, and promoters like all over the country. Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting with COVID going on. It was like literally I saw the entire event space, no matter whether you're like a 3,000 cap venue to a 100 cap room, literally shut down in the course of like 5 to 7 days. Yeah. And just because there's so many people that work in there that rely on these hourly wages, it was really, really tough just with venues shutting down so fast. And a lot of what venues were actually relying on in terms of the backbone to fundraise and get their employees paid was actually GoFundMe. So Sabrosa is doing a GoFundMe right now, or the kind of collective that Sabrosa is a part of is doing a GoFundMe. But I've pretty much been seeing like tons of venues, tons of organizations, especially in the music space, like really leveraging GoFundMe. And it's actually been really nice to see like communities giving back and supporting at this really tough time too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, like, because it is community, right? Like, you realize, like, you're all in this together, especially in the music space. Like, local scenes are, like, I'm hearing from other people, like, it's really not as big as it used to be. And so when now at this point in COVID, it's going away. Like, cool. Now we all have to come together to like make this survive, right? Because that goes away, then we can't play shows, and now I'm get bored, and it ripples effects.
Exactly, and it's scary because like there are venues that are not going to reopen because of this. Like I think Slim's already in San Francisco. Like Slim's was there for I think 30 plus years. I think Slim's is not reopening.
Oh, this was it. COVID was it.
Yeah, COVID was it. Which is like, dude, I remember so many shows like at Slim's. It's crazy to think that venues aren't going to reopen. Some venues aren't going to be reopening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, so it's supposed to be free next week. So right now it's April 25th. But I don't know. Do you feel like everything's gonna reopen back up in May, or do you think they're just gonna extend it?
It's really tough to tell. Honestly, what I think is gonna happen, which is it all falls on our government fucking not doing their job. Like essentially, what we need to be doing here is just mass testing, identifying like mandatory. Every single person in this country is tested. Mm-hmm. Identify the points of contact that those people had previously had, so we quarantine everything. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a while for that. People in these states that have really like service-driven economies, like I think, what is it, Tennessee and like Georgia right now, that there's like tons of protesters wanting to reopen. I mean, we have to acknowledge that like our government's not doing a good job supporting the people. So people like, even if they can't work, they're going to die from not being able to work and support themselves. Yeah. So what I think is going to happen is I think places might riot if the society and the economy doesn't open back up. So we'll see places open back up, but due to our lack of testing, we're probably going to see another big spike in everything going on, and it's just going to push this even further. Like I feel like if everybody just buckled down, it sucks because you got to acknowledge like people are out of work, people are out of jobs, and we as an economy are not doing a good job of supporting them right now. Yeah. I think it's like we're going to try to open back up. A lot more infections are going to happen. It's going to be a second wave, and we're going to have to maybe do something similar. As opposed to if we just waited it out, we might be able to open events starting with like smaller cap. So maybe like 100 cap to 250 cap was what they were originally intending. Yeah. And then kind of scale that upwards as we actually see like infection rates and have testing to have data to support those infection rates too.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Wow, you really thought about this a lot.
It's like, this is like my business too. Cause we like, half of our business was like live events customers that are marketing, and they disappeared. Like, like they don't have anything to market because shows can't happen. So we've tried to internally, like with our team, like plot, like, when do we think things are going to reopen, and how do we think they're going to reopen as well?
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. Well, hey man, I know we're nearing time. Can I ask you one, maybe two questions?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. I wanted to see what I can get in there still. So obviously you shot a lot of these like good bands. Are there any that you haven't shot yet that you've been like, I would love to be on stage and like document that?
Dude, so honestly for hardcore, I tried to think about that when you sent me that question the other day, and I was like, I can't really think of too many hardcore bands that I like haven't got the chance to shot that I really want to shoot. I'd say if there's any, it's probably Tsunami from San Jose, Bay Area. That's like, that band just like blew up on Twitter, and their shows are ridiculous. So that's probably like the one band out of the hardcore genre that I'd be interested in shooting sometime in the near future. But I think I'd also like to expand and shoot stuff of other genres. Like it'd be crazy to shoot like rap shows, like shoot like a Travis Scott show or something like that. Yeah. I feel like those shows like really try to jack the energy, or like they don't try to jack, but they have a very similar energy to hardcore shows. And I think it'd just be cool to shoot like other genres that have crazy and rowdy shows like this too.
Interesting. Very cool. Yeah, no, that'd be sick. I mean, I feel like, when you see something like when you see different artists and their element, it's like, okay, what's something I haven't shot before in here? Or like, what's something that's a little more unique to what you guys do? Let me add that to my portfolio. Very cool. Well, hey man, I appreciate you joining me today. Where can people follow you at, find you at? How can they support Sabrosa?
You can find me it's on Instagram, it's Slam Jameson, so just pretty much one word. On Twitter, some like old Irish dude has the Slam Jameson tag and he won't give it to me, so it's Slam Jameson with an underscore at the end. That's pretty much kind of best ways to get in contact. If you need to contact me by email, it's sampjam123@gmail.com. I made it 10 years ago, so don't question me on it.
Very cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you today. I'll let you go, and I'll talk to you soon, all right, man? Have a good one.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye.